Hajj Challenges 2024. The air in Mecca doesn't just shimmer, it breathes fire. For millions of pilgrims who answered the sacred call to Hajj in 2024, this was not just a spiritual journey, but a physical ordeal of epic proportions. The challenge wasn't simply the vast crowds or the demanding rituals. It was an invisible, relentless adversary, the heat. Temperatures soared past an astonishing 51.8 degrees Celsius or 125 degrees Fahrenheit, turning the holy sites into a crucible. This wasn't just uncomfortable, it was life-threatening. The 2024 Hajj will be remembered as a flashpoint, a moment where the convergence of climate change, immense human density, and logistical strain created a perfect storm, pushing the boundaries of human endurance and exposing deep vulnerabilities in the management of one of the world's largest annual gatherings. To understand the scale of the crisis, we must first understand the physiology of what was happening to the pilgrims on the ground. The human body is a remarkable machine, but it has its limits. Prolonged exposure to such extreme temperatures, especially while performing physically demanding rituals like the tawaf around the Kaaba or the long treks between Safa and Marwa, triggers a cascade of dangerous effects. Dehydration becomes rampant. Heat exhaustion, characterized by dizziness, nausea, and profuse sweating, sets in quickly. If not treated immediately, it progresses to heat stroke, a medical emergency where the body's core temperature rises so high it can no longer cool itself down. This can lead to organ failure, brain damage, and tragically, death. For the elderly, the infirm, or those with pre-existing conditions, these risks were magnified 100-fold. Pilgrims, clad in their simple white ihram garments, symbols of purity and equality, were left profoundly exposed to the elements. The tragic headlines that emerged from Hajj 2024, reporting over 1,000 fatalities, tell only part of the story. A significant and devastating factor was the presence of unregistered pilgrims. These are individuals who, for various reasons, undertake the pilgrimage without the official Hajj permit issued by Saudi authorities. While their devotion is undeniable, their unofficial status places them in extreme peril. Without a permit, they have no access to the official air-conditioned tents in Mina, no access to the dedicated transport buses that shuttle pilgrims between sites, and, critically, no access to the organized distribution of water and medical services. They are forced to walk for miles under the scorching sun, sleep on sidewalks, and rely on the charity of strangers. When they collapse from heatstroke, they are often unidentified, making it incredibly difficult for emergency services to help them or even contact their families. The 2024 heatwave turned their journey of faith into a desperate struggle for survival, and they accounted for a disproportionate number of the casualties. This shadow pilgrimage highlighted a systemic issue that official channels had long warned about, but the devastating consequences had never been so starkly illuminated. Beyond the individual tragedies, the heat created a logistical nightmare on a macro scale. Crowd dynamics are fundamentally altered by extreme weather. A moving crowd is a safe crowd. But when thousands of people simultaneously slow down to seek a patch of shade, or when individuals begin to collapse from exhaustion, it creates dangerous bottlenecks. A single person falling can trigger a ripple effect, a human traffic jam that can quickly escalate into a crush. The pathways in Mina, the long walk to the Jamarat for the stoning of the devil ritual, and the vast open plains of Arafat became pressure cookers. Existing infrastructure like misting fans and water stations was simply overwhelmed by the sheer, unrelenting demand. Medical tents were inundated with patients suffering from heat-related illnesses, stretching resources to their breaking point. Emergency vehicles struggled to navigate the dense, slow-moving throngs of people to reach those in distress. The initial response from authorities was a desperate all-hands-on-deck effort, but it was largely reactive. They were fighting a fire that was already raging out of control. The lessons learned were brutal and immediate. The old playbook for managing Hajj was no longer sufficient in the face of a rapidly changing climate. The heat of 2024 wasn't just a weather event. It was a profound stress test that revealed the urgent, undeniable need for a fundamental reassessment of how to protect the millions who come to fulfill a pillar of their faith.
Safety and crowd reform. In the searing aftermath of Hajj 2024, the questions were as stark as the sun-bleached desert. How could such a tragedy be prevented? How can a sacred pilgrimage, defined by tradition, adapt to the harsh realities of the 21st century? The response has been a seismic shift in thinking, moving from reactive measures to a proactive, technology-infused strategy for Hajj 2025 and beyond. The focus is no longer just on managing crowds, but on predicting their behavior, monitoring their health, and mitigating environmental threats before they become catastrophic. This is the dawn of the Smart Hajj, a comprehensive reform agenda aiming to fuse cutting-edge innovation with sacred duty. At the forefront of this transformation is the aggressive integration of artificial intelligence and big data. Imagine a central command center, not unlike something from a science fiction film. Drones equipped with thermal imaging cameras patrol the skies over Mina and Arafat. These aren't just for surveillance, they are life-saving tools. The thermal data they collect is fed into an AI system that can identify individuals showing signs of dangerously high body temperatures, flagging them for medical teams on the ground long before they collapse. The same AI analyzes real-time video feeds from thousands of CCTV cameras, using predictive analytics to forecast crowd density. If it detects a potential bottleneck forming in a tunnel or on a bridge, it can automatically reroute pilgrims via digital signboards and synchronized mobile app notifications, dispersing the crowd before a dangerous crush can even begin. This is a move from crowd control to crowd flow optimization, a subtle but revolutionary change in philosophy. This digital nervous system will extend to the pilgrims themselves. Discussions are underway to expand the use of mandatory smart wristbands or digital ID cards like the Nusuk card. These devices would serve as a pilgrim's digital passport, containing their medical history, emergency contacts, and nationality. But their future potential is even greater. Equipped with GPS and biometric sensors, they could monitor a pilgrim's vital signs in real time: heart rate, body temperature, and hydration levels. If the system detects a pilgrim is in distress, it would automatically dispatch the nearest medical unit to their exact location. This technology could have been a game-changer for the unregistered pilgrims of 2024, providing a digital lifeline and an identity when they needed it most. Of course, this raises valid questions about data privacy and surveillance, but in the context of preventing mass casualties, the argument for safety is incredibly compelling. The goal is to create a digital safety net, ensuring that no one is left vulnerable and alone in a crowd of millions. Infrastructure is the other pillar of this reform. The 2024 heatwave proved that scattered misting fans are no longer enough. The new strategy involves massive, sustainable cooling solutions. We're talking about the construction of long, shaded walkways covered in solar panels that not only provide relief from the sun, but also power the very cooling and ventilation systems within them. The expansion of the Al-Mashaika Al-Muqaddasah metro line is being prioritized to reduce the amount of time pilgrims spend walking in direct sunlight. Medical facilities are being decentralized and expanded, with more small, agile field clinics positioned strategically within the densest areas, capable of providing rapid intervention for heatstroke victims. Furthermore, there's a renewed focus on pilgrim education. Before they even leave their home countries, pilgrims will receive mandatory training on heat acclimatization, hydration strategies, and recognizing the early signs of heat-related illness. This proactive approach aims to build a more resilient and informed pilgrim population. A crackdown on illegal Hajj operators and stricter enforcement of the official permit system is also a critical, albeit controversial, component. The Saudi government frames this not as a measure of exclusion, but as an essential public safety requirement to ensure they can adequately provide resources for every single person undertaking the journey. It's a holistic reform, tackling the problem from every angle: technological, infrastructural, and procedural, all designed to honor the sanctity of the pilgrimage by safeguarding the lives of the pilgrims. Block 3.
Faith, resilience, future. For all the talk of drones, AI, and biometric data, it's crucial to remember that Hajj is not a logistical problem to be solved. It is, and always will be, a deeply personal and spiritual odyssey. The challenges of 2024, as horrific as they were, also cast a powerful light on the two forces that have defined this pilgrimage for over 14 centuries: faith and resilience. For the millions who endured the crucible of heat, the journey became a profound test of the Islamic concept of patient perseverance. It is a belief that spiritual growth is forged in the fires of adversity, that to struggle in the path of God is to draw closer to Him. The physical hardship, the exhaustion, the constant battle against the elements, these were not seen as mere obstacles, but as part of the spiritual purification the Hajj is meant to embody. In the midst of the crisis, countless stories of incredible humanity emerged, testaments to the collective spirit of the global Muslim community. Pilgrims were seen sharing their last drops of water with strangers, using their own simple ihram garments to shade the elderly from the sun, and carrying those who had collapsed to the overwhelmed medical tents. Young volunteers ran through the crowds, spraying people with water from handheld bottles. This wasn't an organized response. It was a spontaneous outpouring of compassion, a living demonstration of the Quranic principle that all believers are brothers and sisters. This resilience is the intangible heart of Hajj. It's the force that binds millions of strangers from every corner of the globe into a single, unified body. While technology can provide a safety net, it is this human spirit that provides the strength to persevere. The experiences of 2024, etched into the memory of every survivor, will undoubtedly deepen their spiritual understanding, transforming the pilgrimage from a set of rituals into a life-altering testament to their own endurance and the boundless mercy they showed one another. This brings us to the great philosophical question facing the future of Hajj. How do you balance sacred tradition with modern necessity? How do you implement life-saving technology without sterilizing a raw and ancient spiritual experience? Does tracking a pilgrim's every move with a GPS wristband diminish the sense of absolute trust and reliance on God, known as yaqeen? Does walking through an air-conditioned, solar-powered tunnel provide the same spiritual reward as treading the same sun-scorched ground that prophets once walked? There are no easy answers. One school of thought argues that one of the highest objectives of Islamic law is the preservation of life. From this perspective, using any and all available technology to prevent death is not just permissible, but a religious obligation. It is a way of honoring the gift of life that God has given. Another perspective voices a quiet concern that over-optimization could strip the Hajj of its soul, turning a profound spiritual test into a comfortable, curated event. They worry that removing all hardship might also remove the very catalyst for the spiritual growth that pilgrims seek. The future of Hajj lies in navigating this delicate balance. History shows that the pilgrimage has always adapted. Pilgrims once traveled for months on camels. Now they arrive in hours by jet. The expansion of the Grand Mosque, a marvel of modern engineering, was undertaken to safely accommodate more worshippers. Technology is not a new intruder. It is the next chapter in a long history of evolution. The challenge is to ensure that every innovation serves the core purpose of the Hajj, to facilitate a safe and meaningful act of worship. The goal is not to eliminate difficulty for the sake of comfort, but to eliminate danger for the sake of life. The Hajj of the future will likely be a hybrid of ancient ritual and advanced technology. A sea of pilgrims raising their hands in prayer on Mount Arafat will remain the defining image, but hovering unseen above them may be the drones and digital systems that ensure they can perform this sacred act in safety. The journey evolves, the challenges mount, but the spirit endures. This is the future of faith's ultimate test.